Welcome back to another episode of NFL News. I'm your host Terry, and today we're going to have a quick discussion about the running back market. So, if you have seen the free agency class coming up for running backs, you know that the market has very much changed for the NFL running back. And if you've been paying attention the last few years, that writing's kind of been on the wall. And so there's a lot of discussion about it. There's some things that's not true. And then there's some fixes that have been proposed. There's some people that think you can't fix it. And so I just want to dive into that really quickly. First of all, how did we get here? Number one, I think the tipping point was Todd Gurley. I think Todd Gurley got a massive contract and then pretty much didn't fulfill most of it because not only injury, but his diminished skill set. And it's not to say that's his fault, but as we see, the ownership in the NFL is very reactive and they have the power to control their league and they're going to do whatever they can to make sure something doesn't happen. I think about the NBA and you see all the rules they just put in that kind of effectively stop super teams. And again, when things want to be done, they can be. And when I hear, oh, we can't fix it, there's certain things you can't fix, but most of the things when it comes to rules, it's the rules of the four corners, as they say. Whatever you write into that contract, into that bargain agreement can work. So I say that to say that the owners moved to rally against the running backs ever putting them in that position again. Much like Lamar Jackson, how he was kind of frozen out of getting a guaranteed contract, similar to what Deshaun Watson got when the Browns owner went rogue. So, how does this all play out? I heard recently somebody say this is a pass first league, and I like that much more than a pass happy or whatever people want to call it, where they make it seem like the run game is obsolete. The run game, if you're any real type of fan that watches, you know is far from obsolete. The run game is probably more important than ever because of how spread out it is. And so because the run game is important, it is still important. It doesn't mean that the running back individually is important. There was a feeling that a top running back is the only one that can produce such top numbers. And I think to a certain extent, that's true. Now, everybody's going to have the same longevity. Not everybody's going to have the same explosion and all that. But what teams came to realize is that you can make up that production from one person with two or three. And so if we have the ability to run on a team and I'm running with three guys as opposed to one, I'm okay with that. If it's two guys as opposed to one, I'm okay with that. If it's two guys running, one guy catching, I'm okay with that. And so that is kind of what started the shelf life. But it really goes to the draft, and you look at the top guys in the league. You look at some of the top seasons in the league, and you realize that more and more you had running backs from lower rounds having great production. And because that was the case, we got to a point where, again, you didn't feel like with so much supply, I don't have to get a running back at the top of the first round. I don't have to get a running back in the first round. And so running backs started to go further down in terms of where they were drafted. But then on top of that, and what I think is even more important, is again back to Todd Gurley, the shelf life. I happen to think the running backs are, or what's happening to the running backs is a similar situation to the receivers, tight ends, off ball linebackers. And if you look at the top receivers, again, you look at a bona fide top 15. Not all of them are high first round picks. There are plenty non first round picks who become elite receivers. And then you have a recency example, recency bias, where Puka Nakua is prolific coming out of the fifth round. And that continues to show you don't have to get a receiver at the top of the draft. So again, the supply is increased. And on top of that, you can have so many different flavors of receiver and be effective. This isn't the old days where you had to be 6 foot 180 and run routes the exact same way to be effective. No, you can be a slot guy, you can be a red zone guy, you can be a possession guy, you can be a route runner, you can be a lot of different things because the rules and the offenses allow you to be. And so that makes even more supply. And you think about how many teams have good receivers now, and then you talk about a draft where it's probably going 15 deep with quality receivers. So receivers are everywhere. And tight ends are mismatches. I mean, it's God given ability. You get a athlete at 6'5", 260, 250. It's just a mismatch. You're faster than a linebacker, stronger than a D-back. And so, given the right quarterback, the right system, you can be effective. I can grab a guy out of the fifth round. He can be effective. The second round, whatever. I don't have to get a tight end in the first round. And so, these are all similar situations, but the difference is the shelf life. And I recently had to really contemplate, why is it so different for running backs? Part of it is the perception of the run game. You have a great O-line. Let me focus on my O-line. Let me build a top 3 O-line, and then I can have a fifth rounder be effective behind me. But a receiver needs a quarterback. It needs an O-line. It needs time. But those plays they make is more, to some people, individual. They go up, make a crazy catch. Oh, that's something that receiver can do that my other receiver can't do. A running back rips off a 30-yard run. Oh, I got a fast running back on the roster that could hit the hole the same way. So the perception with the passing game, but even more so, is the shelf life. A running back will fall off the cliff faster than a receiver. And you look at the trends and you see receivers being able to play in their 30s. Now, receivers will fall off too. Now, can you still be effective when you're no longer athletic at tight end and receiver? Yes. You won't be prolific, but you can be effective. And will you just fall off in your 20s? Are you more likely to get injured? No. A running back is likely to fall off before 30, and they're likely to get injured more than a receiver or a tight end. And so the shelf life is kind of what caused this whole thing. And so I'll propose my solution. And I do think there's a number of creative solutions if we really think about it. Stephen A proposed that running backs should be able to enter the draft sooner. The reason I don't agree with that is because people change positions a lot, but also the answer for a player that has a short shelf life and high injury risk is not to put an underdeveloped young man into the league quicker. That's not the answer. But he's on the right track. I think it's the contract terms, because the contract terms for a quarterback, where you can have 5 years of control getting you to 27. The quarterback at 27 is still in his prime. And then maybe some franchise tax, 29, still in his prime. Running backs, you're over at that point. So my proposed solution is that running backs should have a different rookie scale. Now, what you do as a veteran is fine, but if you're drafted as a running back, then you are eligible to have a 2-year contract. And then it's a 2+1 if you're a first year. So you still get the option, but it's not a 5th-year option. It's a 3rd-year option. And so if I'm drafted as a running back, I only have a 2-year contract maximum, no matter where I'm drafted. And then I can hit free agency quicker and make my money, because that's, you're not going to change the injury factor. You're not going to change the availability of running backs. What you need to change is the structure of the contract and control. And so I propose that running backs have a 2 year contract. And if you're Bijan Robinson, we want to keep that guy. You got a +1, just like all the other first rounders. But I get to hit free agency quicker. And so I do think you could bargain some language with the tags as well. But that'd be hard because owners probably won't go for that. But I think the first step is the 2 years. So even if you 2+1 me and tag me twice, A, you're using up your tag on a running back, but B, that's only 5 years of my career. So then I can, opposed to 7, and those 2 years make a big difference. And so at max, you can hold me for 5 years, then you got to pay me. Outside of the contract structure, the agents and the running backs need to set the standard. And the standard is always set by the top running back. And it trickles down, or the top at the position. So whoever the top person that's going to be, let's say Bijan is incredible and durable, and he has the chance to, get to the table, and the Falcons want to work with him. Just like Deshaun found the right person to try to set the standard, the running back has to set the standard. You want a short contract, high guarantee money, low base salary. That is the market for the running back. If I'm a running back and I have a chance to do what I want to do, I want either a 2 year contract or a 2 year plus a 2 year player option. And I want to make around $3 million a year, but I want to be guaranteed 80% of my contract. And so that is the issue with the running backs. You want to make your money up front in case you get hurt, in case they cut you, whatever. You made the bulk of your money, and it helps with the cap because your cap hit's not the same when you get guaranteed money versus a base salary. And that's how the running backs need to move in order to fix this problem. And again, it's going to come for the receivers and the tight ends and the off-ball linebackers. I actually think the off-ball linebackers are next. But it'll be slower for them because the shelf life is different. So that's it for me. Go down to the comment section. Let me know what you think of my solution. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.